Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Nigerians in South Africa mourn the killing of one of their own over an alleged altercation with the police. Violence rocks inauguration of the All Progressives Congress state chairman in Bayelsa as hoodlums shoot sporadically, killing one of the party loyalists. 3 injured as uncompleted building caves in Kwara, several others trapped. And Rwandan President Paul Kagame sworn in for a 3rd term after a landslide victory at the polls. But just a quick reminder to you that for more on our top stories and others, please visit our website channelstv.com and youtube.com/channelsweb. And log on to m.channelstv.com to watch us on your mobile device, or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows devices from their respective stores. The Channels TV and Channels 24 app will give you access to news and updates. You also have access to the Eyewitness feature, with which you can share those pictures, videos and news of happenings around you. Just install the app and then tap and swipe to reveal the menu, and then follow the instructions. Yet another visitor has called on the Abuja house where President Muhammadu Buhari is staying. The General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, is the latest guest of the President, who's been away on medical vacation in London, that's in the United Kingdom, for over 100 days. The picture released by the State House reveals the clergyman showing President Buhari a book, which is assumed to be the one written in Pastor Adeboye's honour and recently launched at the Redemption Camp in Lagos. Other guests who've called on the President are the governors, APC chieftains, the Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara. The Archbishop of Canterbury, a man known to be close to the President, has also visited him. A group of elders from Anambra State in southeast Nigeria, led by elder statesman and former Commonwealth Secretary General Chief Emeka Anyaoku, is again calling for the restructuring of Nigeria. The group is alleging that the nation is drifting towards a failed state due to the present structure of governance. Apart from the call for restructuring, the group also discussed the forthcoming governorship election in Anambra State, scheduled for November the 18th.
There is urgent need for arresting this national drift through a restructuring of the country's present governance architecture by returning to a true federalism based on fewer and more viable federating units. We see great value for peace and security in sustaining the zoning formula for political offices in the state as adopted by Ohaneze Ndi Igbo Anambra State and also as resolved respectively by the Traditional Rulers Council and Anambra State Association of Town Unions, and call on all candidates for the governorship election and their sponsoring political parties to eschew indecorous language and violence in their political campaigns.
The indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, have withdrawn its threat to stop the conduct of the November the 18th governorship election in Anambra State. The decision was reached after a meeting organized by a non-governmental organization under the aegis of Ali Igbo International Foundation with IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu. The leader of the foundation, Professor Uzodimma Mangwala, says IPOB has given the Igbo leaders the assurance that it won't disrupt the election. People who are eligible to vote have also been told to go out and exercise their franchise without fear of molestation.
That because of the respect he has for ADF, he came, and because of that respect, he's going to take advice by the leadership and proposing that as soon as possible we should have another meeting with leadership of IPOB to finally agree on this thing. However, although the IPOB says there should be no election, IPOB will not stand in the way of anybody, will not fight anybody who wants to vote.
I'm here amongst my elders and those that are considered to be spiritual leaders, and also people in temporal capacity that I tend to listen to often. I've come here as an indication of my regard and respect for ADF, for the work they've been doing. They have counseled, they have advised, and I have taken most of the things they've had to say on board, and that will guide and inform our decision going forward. I will return to IPOB leadership with the very wonderful proposals that I've had today, and in due course, we shall have a recourse to them. Right now, what we're saying is that we are a law-abiding organization. We listen to advice of our elders. Because of the nature of the society where we come from, elder advice is always welcome. It's not something we intend to depart from anytime soon.
The United Nations is confident that Nigeria can win the war against terror if the needed political will is introduced to the fight against Boko Haram insurgents in the northeast. The UN's humanitarian coordinator in Nigeria, Edward Callan, believes more still has to be done to contain the activities of the sect and reintegrate internally displaced persons. He was speaking at an event held in one of the internally displaced persons camps to commemorate this year's World Humanitarian Day.
The continuous attacks on civilians in northeast Nigeria has become worrisome not only to the federal government but also to the international community. Since the start of the conflict in 2009, the UN estimates that more than 20,000 people have been killed, and many men, women and children have become victims of abductions and various human rights abuses. The United Nations humanitarian coordinator in Nigeria, Edward Callan, believes that with the political will, the war against Boko Haram insurgents would be a walkover for the Nigerian government.
People want to go home. People don't want to stay in IDP camps. And I think it is a responsibility of the government of Nigeria and its security apparatus and the international community to come to the aid of these people and help find a solution to this crisis. If there is one conflict around the world that can be resolved, is the Boko Haram crisis.
Rebuilding and reconstruction efforts have paid off with the successful return of the displaced to some parts of Borno State, but many are still hanging in the balance.
The crisis had affected millions of innocent families who wish to continue on with their normal daily lives. Thousands are returning home, and this is an excellent news. However, thousands are still also unable to return to insecurity. In addition, this security remains a major concern, and we applaud the ongoing food distribution to those in need.
While the people are eager to return home, somewhere in their hearts, they still harbor fear of the unknown.
We want to return home, but we are not sure of security. We don't know if we will be attacked again. It's really tough, which is why some of us prefer staying here.
Health and aid workers who care for the people affected by the violence are also affected by the insecurity, which has continued to restrict access to desperately vulnerable communities.
Let's cross over to Abuja now. Here's Makbe Ogun. Makbe.
Oh, hello and thank you, Ijoma.
We demand justice. We demand justice. We demand justice.
Members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria today resumed protests to demand the release of their leader, Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, who's been in custody since 2015. The group marched to the office of the Human Rights Commission in Yola, the Adamawa state capital, chanting justice for their leader. Sheikh El-Zakzaky was arrested alongside his wife following the deadly clash between the army and members of the group in Zaria, the capital of Kaduna State, in December 2015. The federal government claims the Islamic leader is being held in protective custody and has refused to obey court orders asking that El-Zakzaky be released from detention. 3 years after the Pension Reform Act was signed into law in July 2014, a significant number of pensioners, especially from the private sector, are yet to benefit from its provisions. The Act provides for a compulsory contribution from the employer as well as the employee. At a conference of pensioners in Abuja, retirees criticized the non-payment of their pension contributions by their employers. Pensioners have traveled from far and wide to attend this pensions welfare conference in Abuja, hoping to be informed about their rights and obligations on pension entitlements. For decades, accessing pension benefits has been a major challenge for many pensioners in Nigeria. The 2014 Pension Reform Act was brought in to address this and other challenges, including the non-payment of contributions by employers. Although Section 4 of the 2014 Pension Reform Act stipulates a 10% pension contribution from the employer and 8% from the employee, not all employers have complied with this provision.
The challenges are still there, and the funds are really not very forthcoming.
When I first retired, there were some issues concerning government remitting the money. But as soon as it was remitted to them, I was called. But I discovered that there are some discrepancies, which we are sorting out now.
The 2016 fourth quarter report by the National Bureau of Statistics reveals that only an estimated 7.4 million workers out of Nigeria's over 69 million working population are enrolled under the new pension scheme. Some pension experts are, however, optimistic that the new pension scheme will improve with time.
If we are to compare with the past pension scheme, I think this one is better because many of them died without collecting anything. I know of my father-in-law, he was queuing here in Abuja, never collected anything. But myself, immediately I retired. Within 6 months, I got the lump sum, though this other one is small. Every month, 20th, we are getting our money.
The new act has made it compulsory for every employee in the federal service, state, local government and private sector. Do you understand? So it is more embracing, more friendly, more contributors friendly than the previous act. I know the more and more amendments will continue to come as the scheme evolves. The scheme is still evolving. It's about 11 to 12 years old now.
Although the plight of pensioners have improved to some extent since the Pension Reform Act, there's still much more to do, and not only regarding better access to entitlements, but some experts are also calling for stiffer penalties and better enforcement. Currently, the punishment for conviction of mismanagement of pension funds is a fine or up to 10 years imprisonment. Now, the federal government is pledging its support for the total reintegration and education of the 106 Chibok girls who were released between October 2016 and May 2017. The Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Senator Aisha Al-Hassan, reaffirmed the commitment of government to compensate the girls for the loss of regular schooling opportunity suffered by them while in captivity. The girls who have been provided psychosocial support services to help erase unpleasant memories of their traumatic experiences will be enrolled in a private university in the Northeast, with the federal government bearing the cost of the education.
To date, education and livelihood opportunities of the Chibok girls since their return have been enhanced through remedial and tutorial lessons, sessions, as well as vocational skills training to make them not only academically sound, but also possessing independent livelihood skills. I'm happy to inform you that government has gone all out to compensate these girls for the loss of regular schooling opportunities suffered. Plans are therefore in top gear to equip and kit them to resume formal education in order to place the girls on a lifetime path to success and become productive Nigerians and global citizens.
Of Women Affairs and Social Development, Senator Aisha Al-Hassan. Now, when the News at 10 returns, Nigeria's federal government prepares roadmap for economic diversification through science and technology. Do join us again.